Hey everybody, and welcome to session number 4 of the New Year Acceleration International Web Summit. Really excited to have you here with us tonight, and I'm looking forward to us having a really brilliant session. Just barely over an hour ago, we had session 3, which was absolutely amazing, and I'm really excitedly looking forward to this session. Again, I'd like to say thanks to everybody from wherever you are in the world tuning in and being to be a part of this program, the New Acceleration International Web Summit 2015. This event's been put together particularly to help position you to strategically have an amazing year here in 2015. And what we have done, and I'll explain this, is we have gone out and brought some of the best speakers and trainers in the area of personal productivity and personal growth and personal development. And the whole idea is we bring the best people we can and just get them to share their knowledge, their expertise, their wisdom with you, and to pour it all into you. I know it is a lot, and it might seem like, wow, this is a lot that we're sharing, but the whole idea is you get so much pumped into you. And it's just to help launch you into a brilliant year. And so whether it's advice, whether it's inspiration, whether it's hints and tips, whether it's tactics or strategies, I mean, whether it's just a little bit of motivation, but just something that can inspire, encourage, educate, and empower you to have a brilliant year. And the first 3 sessions have been brilliant, and I must say that I'm excitedly and expectantly looking forward to this session. I'd like to appreciate you again for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. It says that you really you attach a lot of importance to your development, and you are very committed to having a productive year. And I do believe that the time we spend here tonight is going to be well worth it. Now, our speaker tonight, her name is Emma Chard-Cumming. Now, Emma, she has very strong background in corporate training, learning and development, and people development, as well as management. She's we had the privilege of having her husband, Andy, earlier on. She's the co-owner of their successful business Impact Fast Track, and she attributes her success to the people skills that she brings to the table. Now, people call people skills, some people call them soft skills, and what I say to people is, you call them soft skills. There's nothing soft about managing the performance of a very difficult person. I do believe that people skills are probably the most essential skills, and right now in the business marketplace. And she also calls herself a people process geek. I mean, hopefully she'll be explaining what that means in a very short moment. Right now, she's got postgraduate studies. She's done postgraduate studies in management. She's a master practitioner in NLP, and so she's brought all that expertise, all that knowledge, and brought it together. And tonight she's going to be sharing with us how we can pinpoint our professional pathway in 2015. So this whole thing about how can I get it on point exactly and make sure I don't shift to the left or to the right, and I focus on the core things I should focus on in my career, in my profession, and make the most of the year. So that's what Emma's going to be sharing with us tonight. So without further ado, I'm not going to take up your time. I'm just going to hand over to our speaker and our trainer tonight. So Emma, welcome to New Acceleration International Summit 2015.
Thank you, DJ. Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody. And hopefully, those in the UK and Europe, you're still up with us. It's still Monday. It's not quite Tuesday yet. And if you're not listening to it live, you will have no idea what I was just talking about. Bear with me one moment. We need to do a little technical thing here. So I'm just going to share my screen so that you get the benefit of actually seeing my slides. There we go. Let's have a look, make sure it's still. There we go. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And as I said, I'm really pleased to be here. This is a really exciting concept of being able to be part of this webinar series. It's really important that people realize that in 2015 it is a year for making sure that any changes that you've done that you really, really do implement and you really do action, which is why I'm talking about pinpoint your professional pathway. Now, some of you might go, well, what actually is a professional pathway? Well, it's a journey. It's a journey that leads to building, obtaining, and then maintaining your ideal role. that role that, you know, the one that you want to drop in your lap at that one point in time, that's what we're talking about. But I need to clarify something with you. A role is not a job. Let's be very, very clear about that. A role is actually a position that you hold within a particular business or within a particular industry, or tasks that you complete on a particular project. That's what a role is. So in essence, your ideal role can be anything that you believe is worth dedicating your professional pathway to. And our professional pathway, it's shaped by so many different factors. It's shaped by our skills. It's shaped by our education. It's shaped by our culture. It's shaped by our upbringing, our location. Look, the list is endless. I could go on all evening, quite frankly. But what it actually comes down to is that none of those factors actually matter when it comes to shaping your professional pathway. What matters is how you deal with them and how you take action down that pathway. Let's be perfectly honest, it wasn't very long ago that our professional pathways were extremely narrowly defined. So much so that, to a certain extent, they were actually defined for life. I'm sure many of you have actually heard the saying, a job for life. Well, thank goodness that's not the case anymore. Because quite frankly, I could think of nothing worse than being in the same job for my entire working career. And this is what really, really excites me about professional pathways, is because in the last 10 to 15 years, so much has changed. Today, somebody that trained as an accountant is now actually a landscape gardener because that was their passion. We're far more self-reliant and far more flexible and multi-skills than ever our parents were. And our children, well, who knows where they're going to be. Today, the only limits that we have on our professional pathway are those that we put in front of ourselves. So it's important that we remain focused, that we adapt to the new roles that are constantly being created. We gain the necessary new skills for this changing global environment, and we master the new ways of building, obtaining, and maintaining our professional roles. I remember myself being a 17-year-old growing up in South Wales, and I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, for want of a better word. I had no idea what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And the thing I did know was that I actually knew what I didn't want to do. And for a lot of us, that's actually the way that we go through life. We know what we don't want to do, but sometimes we don't know what we actually do want to do. I knew I didn't want to become a geography teacher. And that was the careers advice I received. Oh, you're good at geography, Emma. Become a geography teacher. I think it's almost the Welsh profession. I think every school has a Welsh teacher in it that has learnt that and is told by another teacher, oh, go off and be a teacher. Great careers advice. The other thing I knew I didn't want to do was I didn't want to end up working as a civil servant in the DVLA in Swansea. I don't think I could have coped, quite frankly. So we're talking about the late 1980s, and yes, just like my husband, I am actually that old. And it was a socially deprived area. I have to be completely honest. It was heavy industry based, and when the coal mines closed and the steel mills had issues, then unfortunately so went the same way with jobs. So my ability to find a good role there was not that easy. So I packed up my bag, packed up my qualifications, and headed to the bright lights of London. There I found that jobs were actually reasonably easy to get. We're talking about yuppie time in London. We're talking about there was lots of money. And I actually got to a position where I had two companies actually fighting for me to join them. One was Cadbury Schweppes, which in hindsight, perhaps if I had joined, I'd have had free chocolate and fizzy drinks for the entire career. and the other was KPMG. Now, KPMG is a firm of auditors, accountants, and sort of tax consultants. And at the time, I remember my choice was not based on what they were going to offer me to do with my future. My choice was not based on the role. My choice was actually based on the fact that they used Macintosh computers. Yes, before we shortened it to Macs, they were called Macintoshes. Now, there I stayed for 23 years. And I had a great time being there, I have to be honest. I gathered so much knowledge of people development, knowledge of talent management, knowledge of people management, training, development, and as DJ mentioned, that's where I became a people process geek. You see, I love putting people and processes together so that they can work efficiently. It's possibly quite a sad thing to do, but for me, it just gives me such a buzz. I found my ideal role, but actually I constantly found my ideal role, because when I got bored, I found a new project to put my skills to and learn new skills. Today I run a training and consultancy business with my husband, where we are both professional impact consultants. And I can hear you all going, what's a professional impact consultant, Emma? Well, I'll tell you. Professional impact consultants, what we do is we work with business professionals and we work with business leaders and also business owners to help them get to the top 5% of their industry by making sure that they are impactful in the marketplace. Now, if you listened to Andy's webinar earlier, you'll have heard all about how he can help people win the game of impact. And yes, it is a game. And so I won a game of impact because I worked my way up at KPMG to get to a very senior position, one where indirectly I was looking after 560 staff, and that's quite a lot to kind of be mum to every day. I left and started our own business, and I'm glad I did, because what I was able to do is bring corporate experience to the small business, and that's been a real benefit for me. And I've really enjoyed it. So I can say that my professional pathway has been a bit like a British road. It's rarely been straight. There have been a few bumps in it, lots of turns, but I can assure you there's been no dead ends. And one of the best things that I've discovered on my pathway was that I loved fixing things. I loved fixing people's problems or processing problems. Give me something that didn't work and it was just amazing for me. I had to go away and fix it. And that's where my adage in life comes, that there is always another way. And that's what I believe about your professional pathway. There's always another way. You just have to find the right one. It's a seriously scary fact that we actually spend more time planning our annual holiday than we do planning our careers. This is just utter madness. It's ridiculous. On average, if we spend 40 years working, and in those 40 years we spend 40 weeks working, and in each of those weeks we spend 40 hours working, and then we go and spend more time to plan 2 weeks away every year rather than all those hours and all those weeks and all those years for our career. It's nuts. And it's really time that we needed to readdress this. Our holidays only get paid through our earning potential. So planning our holidays before our professional pathway is just madness. The fact that you're now sitting down and you're listening to this webinar means that you will have put in more time managing your professional pathway than you potentially did for the whole of last year. Now guys, give yourselves a pat on your back, because actually you deserve to reward yourselves, because you're sitting down and you're listening to how you can plan your pathway. So let's walk a bit of that pathway together. When I left school, the world was a very different place. A phone was connected to a cable that came out of a wall. A keyboard was a computer. Sorry, a computer was a keyboard that was connected to a television screen that allowed you to play one game of hitting a ball back and forth between two dashes. And a job was something that you did in somebody else's company. Oh, how things have changed, and so much for the better. If I was asked at the age of 12 what I wanted to be, I might have said nurse or teacher. To be honest, I really don't know. I probably would have said something radical like punk rocker. But if you ask a 12-year-old today, they give out some very, very different answers. So there was some research done in 2014 with 2,500 parents of children under the age, so between 8 and 12, so up to the age of about 12. And they asked the adults and the children what they wanted to be when they grew up. And our results are quite surprising. So in the 1970s, we wanted to be teachers, we wanted to be doctors, astronauts, we wanted to be bankers, police officers, nurses, housewives, musicians, and footballers. But in 2014, the top role that we wanted to be was a model, then a footballer, followed by being a member of the royal family, a pilot, a celebrity, surely that's not a role, a musician, a chef, a socialite, or a politician. But where, oh where, is the entrepreneur? Where, oh where, is the business owner? Where, oh where, is the leader of industry? They're not listed. And yet those are professional pathways that we desire when we start our working careers. It's interesting that career advice, by the time these 12-year-olds will get to being the working age, will have taken them forward. And it won't be so much driven by media and lifestyle. So it's good to know that they will get good advice when they're older. But it's interesting to think that at this age, this is what our children are thinking of. I mean, it worries me that we don't see entrepreneur and business mentor and coach and holistic health worker. It's really interesting that we don't see these. And it's because ultimately our children are influenced by the media. And they don't get to see individual business people being portrayed favourably that do those roles. As I said, career planning has moved forward. And one of the things that's important that they talk about when they do career planning for children these days is based on something that all those years ago in the 1920s, Napoleon Hill came out and said, "No man can succeed in a line of endeavour which he does not like." To put it into today's terms, you have to have passion to be able to succeed. And isn't it great that all those years ago Napoleon had the foresight to say that? So now let's go through the professional pathway for you. What I'm going to do for the rest of this webinar is lead you through 5 stages that will help you to make sure that you build onto your professional pathway and that you actually maintain it and stay in it as well. So the first of them is actually going to be your skills. Now it seems pretty obvious. You'll all turn around and go, well, I know what I'm skilled at. Fantastic. I think that's great that you know what you're skilled at. But I bet you don't list all your skills when somebody asks you about them. And I bet you don't consider the skills outside the remit of the roles and the jobs that you're actually doing. It's one of the first things that I actually get the clients that I work with to do. I get them to sit down and do what I call a skills map. It's because it's something that we do take for granted. And because of that, it's really important that we realise where else that we utilise our skills and how else they could be used in other places, because we do take them for granted. You know, my husband, he's fantastic at coming up with all these amazing ideas and suggestions and schemes and all sorts of things. In fact, he used to keep a shoebox full of ideas when we first met. Different ways to create income, different business ideas, all sorts of little things on pieces of paper inside this shoebox. Yet this is not where his true creativity lay. When he started his business, what I found with working with him was that he was incredibly gifted at being able to produce business models that were able to illustrate a process or a system or some methodology of some sort. And this has now become apparent in the way that he's developed the strategic impact process. It's full of models and it's full of ways to illustrate how impact is important. But when he was actually an account manager, would he ever have used his creativity in that way? No. But it was something that he was doing all those years ago by writing those ideas on a piece of paper and putting them into the shoebox. So when it comes to your skills, you probably only ever consider those that you use in your role. For example, you could turn around and say, well, I'm a graphic designer, so I'm good with images. Fantastic, but just consider for a second, if you were to really sell yourself, wouldn't it be great for you to say, I'm a graphic designer who's really good with images and can delegate and motivate teams because I'm also the captain of my local football team. Then they could see that you've got a skill set outside. And this is what I get people to do with me. I get them to look at their skills map. I get them to look at each area of their life. So firstly, their full-time work. What is it they do for the majority of their working time? And what are the skills they utilize there? Then any part-time work that they might actually do. And what skills do they utilize there? Voluntary work. We take it for granted. There are so many things that so many people volunteer for, you know, Samaritans, call centres, collecting money in local supermarkets for a charity. All of those are voluntary works. But we don't actually put the skill set that's needed to do those into our daily life. And the last is any community work you do. And that's where the graphic designer example comes in, because they were actually the captain of their local football team, which was part of them giving back into their community. So do you get the idea? The whole point of understanding a skills map is so that you really consider all aspects of your life and all the different aspects that you're actually really good at. And once you've done that, then you can look at the individual areas. And the first thing I tend to ask my clients is, what are their people skills? When it comes to team working, words like supportive, organised, coordinated, deliverer, open-minded, all of these should be words that you use when you're using to describe your ability as a team worker. When you want to describe leadership, they want to hear dynamic, they want to hear motivator, team builder, visionary. When you talk about your personal skills, a listener, an advisor, a counsellor, professional and assertive. When it comes to being customer orientated, they want to hear welcoming, friendly, caring, approachable, diplomatic. And your oral communication, they want to hear that you can train, that you're a good communicator, a presenter, a promoter, and of course, you can have some fun and be humorous with it. And lastly, if you have a skill of a foreign language, to what level? Are they spoken skills? Do you have some cultural awareness? Perhaps you have international experience. Whatever your skills are, it's important to make sure that you list them. The next thing I ask people is, what are their self-reliance skills? So people will normally automatically say self-confidence, but think about other words like focused, perceptive, honest, realistic and balanced. What about self-promotion? Lots of people shun away from this. They think it's egotistical. It's not. It's positive. It's persuasive. It's proactive. It's persistent and it's ambitious. When you're showing your initiative, you're being resourceful energetic, flexible, and self-disciplined. When you're networking, trustful, resourceful, respected, personable, and a relationship builder. And in a learning environment, you want to be seen as motivated, adaptable, enthusiastic, active, and a keen learner. And lastly, and probably the most important self-reliant skill, is action. A decision maker, the planner, negotiator, someone who's responsive and target-driven. Next set of skills I look at are generalist skills. And again, people will just come up with one title. Oh, I'm good at problem solving. No, that means you're an achiever. You're successful, good at project management, practical and creative. Your IT skills. It's not just about the software packages that you know. It's about having common sense, being task-orientated, and being progressive to learn new IT skills. When it comes to being flexible, you need to be versatile, multi-skills, willing, obliging, mobile, and above all, adaptable. Numeracy doesn't just mean that you're good at maths. It means you're accurate, you're logical, you're detailed, methodical, and consistent. And when it comes to general business skills, what people are looking for is somebody who's competitive, entrepreneurial, enterprising, and commercial. And lastly, we're always going to look for commitment. Somebody who's dedicated, who's trustworthy, conscientious, reliable, loyal, and punctual. Lastly, I get my clients to look at their specialist skills. Here it's things that might be very company specific. They could be very technical, like computer programming, for example. Or they could just be having the basic understanding of commercial and business goals. Whatever your skills are, it's really important to take the time to map them out. But it's not just about mapping them out, it's about collecting the evidence that you can prove to others that you have those skills. I suggest that everybody should do a skills map, and not just do it once, but do it often and review it regularly. You'll always have something new to add in it. You'll be amazed. And even if you're already doing your ideal role, you can always find more skills to add in that gives value to that ideal role. And if nothing else, a skills map is a fantastic ego boost, because then you can see all the things that you're capable of doing, can do, and are actually really good at doing. So the next stage that I take people through when we're on the professional pathway is what actually is their ideal role. Now, I've already explained that a role is a position that you hold in a business or an industry. It's not a job. And that role will have a list that you will want to fulfill in order for you to be passionate about what you're undertaking, potentially for the rest of your life. For some of you, you'll already know your ideal role and you're already in it. That's fantastic. Others out there are possibly still searching. But regardless of where you are and what stage that you're actually at, you can still do this. The first question I ask when people are searching for their ideal role is a very general one. I actually ask them, why do you work? You know, for what purpose is it that you're actually looking for this ideal role? Why? You know, it could be for some satisfaction. It could be pure enjoyment. They actually just get a kick out of doing that job. It could be financial reward. Actually, for some, it's actually about funding something else they actually enjoy more. Or it could just be the pure self-fulfillment that you get from actually undertaking it. But then I ask my clients, do I live to work or do I work to live? I think it's a really important question to ask everybody, because it drills right down to where your passion lies and gives you a real clear understanding of what role is going to fulfill you in whichever area that you're looking for that role to fulfill. And then ask my clients, so what role do you actually want? You know, what type of work do you see yourself doing? And for a lot of people, they can't describe that. To them, it's just an idea or a concept. And with the way that the world is moving, those ideas and concepts are actually becoming roles very quickly. You know, does this type of work involve them being creative or being practical or using their hands or working with things or with objects? Or does it involve working with people? I know where mine would be. It would always be working with people. And also, where would their temperament best be suited? So what type of role would suit their temperament? Then I ask them what type of organisation they're thinking of. You know, there are so many out there. You know, what would suit where they want to work? You know, is it a private company? Is it working on their own? Is it public? Is it a charity? You know, do they want to work in industry? Do they want to work in business? Or do they want to work in retail? And what size of organisation do they think was going to suit them? You know, again, do they want to be on their own? Do they want to be a small private firm? Or do they want to be in a large blue chip company? Regardless of where, picking the organisation is important. And it's important because there is a need for you to match the values that you hold with the values of the organisation. Otherwise, you'll find immediate disengagement and you'll not want to be in that job. I then ask them what really motivates them about their ideal role. Now, this is the killer question. This is the one that really needs time for people to sit down and mull over. So, is a role in industry, you know, is a role with security in the industry important? Do you like to work for yourself, or do you want to work with somebody or work on your own? And do you see yourself in a permanent role or series of jobs within a chosen industry? It's really important to work out the motivation level behind it. And how do you work best? Do you like constant stimulation with lots of deadlines, or do you prefer a steady pace? Are you creative and like working with your hands, handling the product? Do you need or do you crave interaction with others? Or, quite frankly, do you like being locked in a box on your own? Do you learn on the job, or do you like being taught in a classroom? Are deep work-based relationships important, or do you actually not care or bother to learn people's names? And then what industry actually interests you? From retail to professional services to communications to engineering, what industry is it that really attracts you to it? How economically stable is that industry? Is there a future growth? Is it sustainable? All those questions need to be answered about the industry. So once you know your ideal role and you've matched your skills that are in your skills map, you will be surprised at what you have learned about the skills and the type of role that you want to do. I've got several friends, for example, who are healers, and they are constantly doing some course or further training or all sorts of things, and I didn't really understand why they were seeking this additional knowledge, for me, just for the sake of it. But in fact, what they were actually doing is ensuring that their skills were as broad as possible to be able to deal with all the situations and all the potential opportunities that they could use to grow their business. This is why knowing what you need to know is important against what you already know. The biggest learning that you can get from this section about knowing your role is knowing that you're in a role that you love, so that you can discard any roles that you don't love. So what do you need for your ideal role? You need to know your motivations. You need to know the organisation, the industry and the type of work, and the skills and qualifications that you need to fulfil that role. And do you have them already? Just check your skills map. You'll be very surprised. I'd like to read to you now an extract from the commencement speech that Steve Jobs gave to Stanford University in 2005, because it just shows that even some of us, it doesn't work out first time. He says, "I was lucky. I found what I love to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We had just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I had just turned 30. And then I got fired." How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired somebody who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. So at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone. It was devastating. Later in the presentation, he adds, "I was a very public failure. And even though, and I even thought about running away from the valley, but something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did." And entrepreneurs, we have a really bad habit of taking on all that we see, regardless of whether we are any good at it or actually whether we like doing it. So guys, give yourself a break. Be a bit picky and only do what you're really, really passionate about doing. The stage 3 in your professional pathway is about where to find your ideal role. Now I'm going to let you into the secret underworld of the role market. Any entrepreneur or business person will tell you that finding new clients or prospects doesn't happen in the traditional way through advertising anymore. They'll tell you that the secret world of the referral. It's exactly the same when you're seeking your ideal role. Instead of following the traditional route, like recruitment consultants or newspaper ads, or a job website, I'd like you to think outside the box. Actually, scrap that. I have to be honest, I hate that box. Frankly, I wish that box didn't exist. And so for the whole of this seminar, I want you to forget that I ever said there was a box. Actually, I'd like you to possibly even create your own box. And then be an individual in that box. Okay, that's my little rant over about being inside the box. We better really get back onto your professional pathway. Did you know that up to 80% of opportunities are not on traditional recruitment routes? 80%. That means only 20% can be found with a recruitment consultant. So when you're searching for your ideal role, where do you start? When you talk to people, for number one, you'd be amazed at those that you know around you, those that could help. So when you meet people locally, or when you meet your friends, or even if you're sitting next to somebody on a bus, a tube, a coffee shop, talk to them. You never know where the conversation might go. It might be totally out of your comfort zone, but I can assure you it could be very, very rewarding. Go local. Too often people travel into the centre of towns just to get those roles because that's where they think they are. But go out and get a copy of a local newspaper, or have a look at the online version. That's easier. But look at the features and the articles. Don't look at the roles or the recruitment pages. What you're looking for is good news about those local companies. News of awards or new initiatives, or where they're taking on more staff because they've won something, or possibly where they are laying some staff off because of some other issue. So read the article, learn about the company, and possibly even go and check the company out. Do a drive-by. Now this might sound slightly bizarre, but seriously, go and visit your local business parks, your local industrial or enterprise parks, and just see what sort of companies that you've got out there that are really close to you. Have a look at what sort of premises they're working in, what sort of staff do they employ. You know, do they have car parking spaces? What are the cars in the car park? Are they nice quality cars? You know, do they have a reception that welcomes in visitors? Seriously, a drive-by can tell you a lot about places that you could go to work in. Volunteer doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it for free. But you could go and offer your services as a freelancer, or maybe do some short-term intern work. Small businesses actually quite like hiring people on a short-term basis because they tend to have projects that just need a person at that particular time. So it's a great way for you to learn something about that company or that industry for a short period of time. Always, 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 always be ready. That LinkedIn profile, and if you haven't got one, go and get one now. Well, actually, not quite now, but go and get one after the webinar. You must have a good profile, and it absolutely 100% has to be up to date. It's your bio, it's your CV, and that's where people will go and look. And it's vital that if you have a paper CV and you have a LinkedIn profile, that the two of them actually match. I can't emphasize the importance of connecting. The first point was about talking to people, and the second one is actually more about getting to see who you know who is connected to someone else. It's a fact that we actually get more referrals and more jobs through people who are acquaintances and not friends. So those outside our initial circle, they're the ones that will give us the endorsement. They're the ones that will give us that next job. LinkedIn again, but this time for a job search. This time to actually go and look for jobs or look for companies on there that are recruiting, or you can target. Opportunities present themselves to us daily. We just have to be ready to take them on and actually take them on our pathway to success. So the fourth stage is all about you. Yes, it's all about selling yourself. Now, let's be egotistical, okay? Nobody can sell you better than you. So seriously, don't rely on somebody else to blow your trumpet, because they will never blow it as well as you do or as loudly as you do. You've now got a strategy. You've got a where you can go and look for your ideal role. You know what your ideal role is and you know what skills you have to fill that. But about blowing your trumpet is all about how you persuade somebody that you are the ideal candidate for the role. It's about knowing what your client is looking for and knowing how you can provide them with the solution. Now, when people go out and they're looking for these roles, they actually forget to consider the client. And they fail to realize that they have to sell themselves in a totally different way. And that way is from the perspective of the client. You see, when you think from that client, you get to understand the value that you will bring to them. You match their needs to your skills. Now, doing a scattergun approach is never going to work. This is about being specific and targeting to get your foot in through the door. It's important to understand that you're solving the needs of the client first. They're the ones with the requirement. They're the ones that are offering a solution that matches your skills. Here's some must-haves that need to be on every CV. It's got to be personalised for every role. Gone are the days with the covering letter. No, make sure the skills on the written CV match the skills the client is looking for. It must be current and it must be up to date. And you can list all the skills that are relevant to that particular role and remove the ones that aren't. It's got to be instantly accessible. In this day and age, regardless of where we are, we have the cloud, we have useful applications like Evernote. You've got your CV to hand and be able to pull it up immediately. So what about some selling yourselves online? Well, quite simply, actually having a LinkedIn profile is an absolute must. And it needs to detail those skills and experience that are relevant to the roles that you're seeking. It's also a great place because people will endorse you on here for your projects and everything. When you have a Facebook presence, ensure that you look through it really carefully. Up to 96% of organisations are now profiling those that they are recruiting. They will look at LinkedIn and they will look at Facebook. So it's really important that you check your comments and your photos for appropriateness. And our top tip, or rather my top tip, is buy your name as a domain. This is ultimately where you are going to be selling you in the future. It is fast becoming the norm to have your own website that holds your bio on it. So get on trend, get there early, be a trendsetter. When you're in person, here's some must-haves for selling you. Always be prepared with your attire and what you wear, making sure that it matches the environment that you're going to. There's no point turning up in Canary Wharf for a financial job in a caftan. You're not going to dress to impress that way. When you're selling yourself, really communicate with impact. And that means being brief, being clear, and adding value to every interaction. And remember, it's the small details that count. So looking down to make sure if your shoes are clean, that, in essence, will help you to reflect where you are. Selling yourself is all about balancing the needs of the client with what you have to offer. So remember, never ever overpromise, but always overdeliver. Throughout the whole process of your professional pathway, nothing can happen unless you stay focused and you stay motivated. So you've got to get yourself on plan, be in the right mindset, and nothing could be better than listening to some of these webinars that are being broadcast over the next few days. They're a great way for you to start and realise your dreams and stay positive in 2015. So if you haven't signed up for some of the other webinars yet, please do, and learn and take away the motivation skills that you're going to get there. Now, the last stage of your professional pathway that I'm going to share this evening is what actually do you already have that you could use? It's quite simple, really, but it's about checking in to see exactly where you are, because quite frankly, I don't imagine you to wake up tomorrow morning and you to see this beautiful aqua path leading from your bed towards your ideal role that is highlighted with flashing neon lights telling you it's there. That's not really going to happen. So it's about you taking on the work and being dedicated. But frankly, you wouldn't have joined this call and stayed on it for so long if you weren't tenacious and you didn't want to get ahead in 2015. So All credit to you. What's available to me right now? Well, the first thing is what's already available in the business or organisation or industry that you're currently in. You'll have recognised important factors about sourcing your professional pathway, but quite often we don't actually look at where we are currently, what our current role is. More often than not, we're not aware of what we can achieve there. It's either due to a lack of possibly knowledge or even general ignorance. And in smaller organisations, particularly this can be the case because the person in the next room could actually be working on that project that will make all the difference for you going forward. So what do I need to know, and how do I add value that gains interests? Well, you need to know about your broader organisation and your industry. And we don't just mean the immediate location. We live in a global society. So those we work for, they have connections that are with organisations in this massively worldwide network these days. You need to make strides to promote your skill set and yourself, because it's exactly what the successful people do. They are certainly not shy at promoting themselves. Really get to know your boss or the leader in your field. Find out what pleases them, what are their goals, and how can you assist them to reach them. Work hard on improving your previous results and request development opportunities. But really delve deep into the business or your industry and meet as many people from lots of different areas that you possibly can, because you never know where that conversation over the photocopier could actually lead to. So what else can you do to expand your community? Well, I talked about the box that you were going to go and create for yourself, because we're not in a box anymore, we're going to think outside. And ultimately, what I want you to do is to consider your entire community. It was one of the things that I asked you when we were looking for where you could find your ideal role. This is about expanding and developing where your community can offer things, where you would have the ability to be seen or be heard. An interesting question to ask is, actually, are people in my network an asset or a hindrance? Let's be honest, there is the saying, your network is your net worth, and that's incredibly true. The level of your network is the level that you are currently playing at. So look around. Who's in your network? Are they people you aspire to be? If there's none in there or hardly any, then change your network. It's as simple as that. If there are some that you aspire to, but you've not utilized them as contacts, then get out there and go and connect with them. And find the people that you want to network with. Find who will take you forward. So where are the best places to start networking? Well, frankly, anywhere. We're all too often quite happy to sit behind our laptop screens or our computer screens and just not have proper human contact for hours. So it's really important that we actually serve one of our basic human needs, which is that of connection. There are so many networking clubs, meetup groups, all sorts of things. I saw one the other day that just said, let's just meet for coffee. Whatever the reason, there is nothing stopping you getting out there and starting to network. It's about connecting with your friends, with your colleagues, and those wider in your industry. So that's actually the last stage that I take my clients through when we talk about their professional pathway. But one of the important steps I insist that they have to do is, can I? It's all about constant and never-ending improvement. You see, your professional pathway is a road, and it is a road well travelled, and it's one that you will constantly improve and gain knowledge and gain skills as you travel along. So revisit your skills map. Network often and always apply the principle of can I. Thank you very much for listening this evening. I've had great fun, and I hope my slides came out actually. But let's just go back to the webinar and to DJ and find out how everything went. Hi DJ, can you see me again?
Yes, I can see you.
Did you see my slides, more
I
importantly?
saw them initially, and then they disappeared.
Oh no!
I honestly don't know what happened, but it was brilliant anyway. I'm sure no one's complaining. It was an absolutely amazing session.
Thank you.
You know what, everyone? I'm sure you got value, and I'd like you to do me a favor. Just if just share briefly what the session was like for you in the chat box, just so because I feel it was really, really, really valuable. There was just so much that you shared here, Emma. And if you have any questions as well, feel free to type in your questions, and I'm sure Emma will get them answered. But that was really, really useful. A lot of it validated some of the things that we covered in the very first session. I did say that this was basically the icing on the cake, and that's exactly what it was. And if there's anybody who's if you've missed any of the previous sessions, I'll share with us in a short moment how you can access those. But this is really, really invaluable. I know that do you have an offer that you want to share with the group?
I do. I can actually go to the pop-in and actually display the offer. So if people want to go to the pop-in, what I've actually got is the tasks I talked about, or the different stages that I talked about earlier. They're actually part of a set of task classes that I've got available that people can actually do. So they can actually go through the process that I actually do with my clients. And the first part of that is to actually undertake an assessment that sort of measures their tenacity level. So how much are they willing to do and willing to go forward? And it really kind of questions them in sort of 4 different areas of their kind of pathway. And then they get 6 task classes plus a little sheet at the end. So you don't do it all at once. You have some time to do it. There's about 3 to 5 days between each of the task classes. So once people sign up, they get the email sequence, and you can do it at your pace. But the important thing is, once you've started, be tenacious and finish.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate us. I know we've got people from different continents and different parts of the world who plugged in. So some people are staying up late. For some people, it's probably just an early evening, and for whatever it is, I'd like to appreciate those of us who've come in to be a part of this. So if you go to Pop-ins, you can access the offer, and let me just see what it says. Yes, it just says pinpoint your professional pathway, free tenacity assessment, and task classes. Sign up today. Just click on the link and you can take advantage of that. One of the things that I did was I mean, again, we've got quality. We've got 10 of the best speakers and trainers from around the world to come and share their knowledge and expertise with us. And Emma is, she's a professional. She's been in this industry for years, and she's put this together to help you to be able to pinpoint a professional pathway, to identify that that pathway to where you're going. And I'm very sure that this free assessment is going to go a long way to helping us achieve that. So Emma, thanks a million for sharing this with our community. Thanks a lot for being a part of the NYA Acceleration International Web Summit, and I really do appreciate your contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very, very much. Sorry, Emma, I didn't give the opportunity to speak there. You were going to say something.
Thank you, DJ, for actually organising this, not just giving us the opportunity, but giving the people that are listening in the opportunity, because I think that's the important thing.
True, very, very true. I agree. And when we're putting this event together, it really was about helping launch people into 2015 and helping to position them for a brilliant year. Now, a few things. This is session number 4. Wednesday, we would have sessions number 5 and sessions number 6. So I'll just give you a quick heads up. Okay, now session number 5, we have Brian Kenny. He's an amazing guy. I mean, again, Brian's a gentleman who I just got to meet last year, and he's the transformation expert. He's developed what we call the how to achieve total body transformation. He's a health and fitness specialist, and he's helped a lot of people with, with weight management and fitness and all and that sort of thing. He's been featured on CBS, NBC, and the Atlanta Live Show. So he's going to be joining us from the States, and he's going to be, running a session on how to achieve total transformation, body, life, and business. So it's going to be a powerful one. That will be the first session on Wednesday, which will be 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And then 10 p.m. we'll have session number 6, Find Your True Life Purpose in Less Than 60 Minutes. We've got Simone Vincenzi. Now, Simone's an amazing guy. He's high energy, very exciting gentleman. He's an Italian who lives in London, but and I've had the opportunity to, like I said, we're very particular about who we put in front of you. We don't just bring anybody. We're looking at quality, we're looking at value, and people who we know would help you to move to the next level. And that's going to be an amazing session. Wednesday, 10 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Eastern. You would get the links emailed. You'll get the links emailed to you on Wednesday. So look out for those and make sure you block out the time right now to be a part of this. Now, very quickly before we go, how do you maximize this? Because we put this event together. We didn't put it together just because we wanted to. It's because this with the first one round was in 2013, and the people who got the best results from NYA Acceleration, from the feedback we got, this was what they did. Number one, they attended every single session. I know that's a big ask. It's 10 sessions, right? But we're looking at positioning you to maximize the rest of the year. So it is a big ask, but attend every single session. We've got 4 down, we've got 6 to go. The second thing is take lots of notes. Take lots of notes. Note as much as you can. The third thing you want to do is get the audios, and I'll share with us in a brief moment how you can get the audios at a $60 discount tonight. So get the audio recordings as well as the videos, and then listen to them over and over and over. And there's something about listening to something over and over and over to make sure it's embedded. And then finally take action. Just make sure you just take action on everything that you heard. Emma just said something. She's offering us this free assessment. She said, but just make sure you follow through. There's no point just going to access it and not doing anything with it. So, and that's a crucial thing, is follow through in everything that we share. If you do, I could almost guarantee that you're going to have a significantly brilliant 2015. So thanks a lot, everybody. Go ahead and get the free tenacity assessment and task classes. Click the link, sign up today, and go through that program. It would really help you. Now, we've had 4 sessions. How do you access the previous 4 sessions, and also how do you get the recordings of the other 6? Well, we're putting the package together, the videos as well as the audio pack, and it would be sold for $97 US. However, I'm going to share a link in the chat section right now, which will enable you to access it for $1. You pay $1 now, and then a month from now you pay $37, which is a $60 discount, and you'll access the video recordings as well as the audios of all the sessions when they're through. So I'll just go ahead and share the link here in the chat box. You can click on that. It's in the chat section there, and that will take you to the page where you can pay $1 right now, and you'll have access to all the videos. We've got the first 2 sessions in. Tomorrow morning we'll add on, this evening sessions, and we'll keep adding on the videos as the days go by. Thanks a lot, everyone, for being a part of this event. I'm sure you've got so much value. Just before we go, Emma, any last words before we end this session?
I think the only thing that I just want to say to everybody is just, if you haven't already, make sure that you set aside the time to go through the previous ones and to book onto the next webinars.
Thanks a lot, Emma. Thanks, everybody, and I look forward to celebrating your success in 2015. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks. God bless. Good night.